Listen. I need you to sit down for this because I've been holding this in for approximately my entire adult life. And today, we're going to talk about it. All of it. The whole circus. The complete and utter carnival of nonsense that we've collectively decided to call society and progress and the way things are now. Get comfortable. Actually, don't. Discomfort builds character, apparently. I read that on a poster in a WeWork once before that company imploded like a dying star made entirely of kombucha and broken dreams. But we'll get to that. We'll get to all of it. Let's start with influencers, because they're the low-hanging fruit and I'm not above it. I've never been above anything. I once ate a hot dog I found at a concert. Judgment isn't really my lane. So, influencers. Remember when being famous required a skill, a talent, the bare minimum of having done literally one thing worth noting? Yeah, me neither, because I'm not 140 years old, but I've heard the legends. Apparently, there was a time when celebrity status was bestowed upon people who could, act, or sing, or at minimum survive a scandal interesting enough to warrant tabloid coverage. Now? Now you can be famous for pointing at words on a screen. That's it. That's the whole job. Some guy makes 6 figures pointing at text and making a face like he just discovered gravity. What? Yeah, what indeed, my friend. What indeed. And look, I'm not bitter. I'm not. This is not bitterness. This is observation. This is journalism. This is me, a person who spent years developing actual skills, watching a 19-year-old become a millionaire because he does a little dance while holding a product he's definitely never used. This protein powder changed my life, he says, reading from a script, his life having started approximately 15 minutes ago in the grand scheme of things. Changed your life how, Brad? You've been alive for the length of a medium-length Netflix series. Your life was a rough draft. What was there to change? But here's the thing, and this is the part that really gets me. It's not even the influencer's fault. Not really. They saw an opportunity and they took it. That's capitalism, baby. That's the dream. The problem is us, the audience, the people who watch this content and think, yes, this is how I want to spend the finite moments of my existence. This is the content I crave. A 22-year-old showing me what's in their refrigerator. What's in their refrigerator? We've created an entire industry around watching attractive strangers show us their refrigerators. Marie Antoinette said, "Let them eat cake," and we said, "Only if you film it and do a whole thing about your morning routine first." And the morning routines. Don't get me started on the morning routines. Actually, get me started. We're here. Let's do this. I wake up at 4 a.m., they say, emerging from bed already fully moisturized, skin glowing like they've been marinating in unicorn tears. First, I meditate for 45 minutes. Then I journal my intentions. Then I do a cold plunge. Then I make a smoothie with 17 different supplements. Then I work out for 2 hours. Then I read 12 pages of a book about optimization. And then I check my phone. It's 6 a.m. You've done more before sunrise than I've done in fiscal quarters. And for what? You sell candles on Etsy. You could have slept until noon. The candles don't care what time you woke up. They're wax. But no, we've created this culture where rest is failure and productivity is the only metric of human worth. And everyone's out here optimizing their morning routines like they're training for the Olympics of being insufferable. Speaking of insufferable, let's talk about hustle culture, because I've got feelings and a keyboard and absolutely no one can stop me. Hustle culture is what happens when you take the Protestant work ethic, dip it in Red Bull, sprinkle it with startup jargon, and serve it to people who can't afford rent. It's the idea that if you're not working, you're dying. If you're resting, you're losing. If you're taking a vacation, some other guy, some hustler, is out there grinding while you're at the beach like a loser. First of all, I've seen those guys. The grinders, the ones who post about working 80-hour weeks like it's a flex. You know what they look like? They look like they've been hit by a truck made of spreadsheets. They look like the human embodiment of the word exhausted. They're 32 years old with the eyes of someone who's seen too much and the posture of a question mark. I'll sleep when I'm dead. Buddy, at this rate, That's going to be Tuesday. And the language of it all, the corporate speak that's infiltrated everything like linguistic mold. We don't have jobs anymore. We have roles. We're not employees, we're team members. We're not fired, we're transitioned or right-sized, or my personal favorite, graduated from the company. Graduated. Like getting laid off is the same as finishing business school. Congratulations on your accomplishment. Here's your diploma and your unemployment forms. Your student loans are still due, but now you can't pay them. Toss that cap. And don't even get me started on LinkedIn. Don't do that to me. LinkedIn is what happens when everyone on the internet decides to pretend to be their most professional selves simultaneously. And it's terrifying. It's like a masquerade ball where everyone's mask is enthusiastic about synergy. I'm thrilled to announce. You're not thrilled. No one is thrilled. Thrill is what you feel on a roller coaster or when you find $20 in an old jacket. Thrill is not what you feel about a lateral career move. I'm humbled to share. You're not humbled. Being humbled is when something knocks you down a peg. What you are is bragging. And that's fine. Brag. But let's call it what it is. And the posts. The performative stories about leadership and empathy and what they learned from their Uber driver that definitely didn't happen. My Uber driver was a refugee brain surgeon who taught me the true meaning of success. I cried, we cried. I gave him a large tip and a copy of my self-published ebook about disruption. Now he's my chief innovation officer. Always be learning, #grateful, #blessed, I made this up in the shower and decided to post it anyway. While we're on the topic of things that sound helpful but absolutely aren't, let's talk about the self-help industrial complex. Now, look, I believe in growth. I believe in improvement. I believe that people can change and get better and become slightly less annoying over time. I'm an optimist, despite all available evidence. But the self-help industry has gone completely off the rails. It started as maybe try to be a bit nicer to yourself and somehow morphed into you can manifest a private jet if you just vibrate at the right frequency. Vibrate at the right frequency. I'm not a tuning fork. I'm not a radio station. I'm a person with bills and anxiety and a lingering suspicion that the universe does not, in fact, care about my vision board. But try telling that to the manifestation crowd. Try suggesting that maybe thinking really hard about becoming rich isn't the same as actually becoming rich. They'll look at you like you just kicked a puppy made of crystals. You're blocking your abundance, they'll say. I'm not blocking my abundance. The rent is blocking my abundance. The economy is blocking my abundance. The fact that wages haven't kept up with inflation since approximately the Nixon administration is blocking my abundance. But sure, let me just think harder about money. That's the missing ingredient. And the books. The books. There are approximately 80,000 self-help books published every year, and they all say the same 7 things in slightly different fonts. Wake up early. Exercise. Drink water. Be grateful. Set goals. Network. Believe in yourself. Groundbreaking. Revolutionary. I had no idea I should drink water until a man in a suit told me from a stage. My life is transformed. Is there a guy I can pay $700 to tell me to get enough sleep? Is that a seminar that exists? Oh, it is? Multiple ones? Fantastic. And the weird thing is, the people who read these books are usually already doing fine. The people with the self-help libraries aren't the ones who need the most help. They're middle managers who want to become slightly more efficient middle managers. They're people who've already read 40 books about success, but somehow still feel like they need book 41. Maybe, and I'm just spitballing here, maybe the problem isn't that you haven't found the right book. Maybe the problem is that you're looking for external validation in a Barnes & Noble. Maybe the call is coming from inside the house. But what do I know? I haven't disrupted anything. I haven't optimized my morning. My vibration is probably all wrong. Let's talk about phones. We carry around devices in our pockets that are more powerful than the computers that sent humans to the moon, and we use them to argue with strangers about movies and watch videos of cats falling off things. That's the trade-off. That's the deal we've struck with technology. Here is all of human knowledge accessible at your fingertips. And we said, cool, does it have a filter that makes me look like a dog? And it did. It had several filters that make you look like a dog. Different dogs, options, innovation. I'm not immune to this. I'm not on a high horse. My screen time report comes in every Sunday like a disappointed parent, and every Sunday I look at it and think, surely this is wrong. Surely I did not spend 11 hours on my phone yesterday. Surely there's been a mistake. There has not been a mistake. I spent 11 hours looking at a small rectangle instead of experiencing the tangible world around me, and I have nothing to show for it except vague anxiety and familiarity with drama involving people I've never met. And the notifications. We've trained ourselves like Pavlov's dogs, except instead of food, we salivate at the possibility of